Welcome to This Explainer. I am genuinely pumped you're here with us today because we are looking at something that is just absolutely fascinating. Let's be real for a second. Most of us barely have a solid 5-year plan figured out, right? Let alone a concrete blueprint for our entire existence. But what if you could? Imagine mapping out structured growth, not just for the next fiscal quarter or a single school year, but across your entire lifetime. What would a literal blueprint for lifelong success even look like? Well, the source material we're digging into today attempts to answer exactly that, giving us a really incredible look into a comprehensive developmental roadmap.
Okay, let's dive into this. How do you map out success across an entire lifetime? It sounds like a totally monumental, almost impossible task, doesn't it? But what we're unpacking today is a highly structured, chronological journey designed to do exactly that. We're going to explore a framework that basically acts as a continuous GPS for the driven individual, providing super specific, targeted solutions at every single major life stage. We're talking from childhood all the way through to retirement. So whether you are literally just starting your career, managing a growing team, or starting to think about retirement, this roadmap has a specific pin dropped right where you're standing. This framework breaks our lives down into highly actionable phases. It's the complete life stage solutions framework, sourced straight from our documents, and it is explicitly designed for enabling the driven individual across all life stages. What is truly wild here is just the immense scale of this ambition. It's incredibly rare to see a cohesive strategy that connects a 4-year-old's exploratory play straight through to a 65-year-old's lasting legacy. Yet, this roadmap dictates that there is a specific, actionable solution for success at absolutely every single step of that massive journey.
To make sense of this whole lifelong journey, it helps to think of it kind of like a lifelong relay race. The baton gets passed right in the middle of our lives, basically splitting our development into 2 distinct tracks. On the first half of the exchange, we have Yancha. The Yancha programs focus heavily on those absolutely crucial foundational years of youth, and then the spark of early entrepreneurship and startups. Then, as we mature, the baton is handed off, and we transition into MET. The MET programs are just laser-focused on the traditional corporate climb, executive leadership, and ultimately securing your legacy. So together, Yancha and MET form this continuous, unbroken relay of personal and professional development.
Section 1, Foundations for Kids and Teens.
And this brilliantly illustrates where we start our chronological journey, kicking off with the child phase, spanning ages 4 to 12 years. From there, we move right into the inevitable teenager phase, from 13 to 19 years. Finally, rounding out the youth-oriented track, we hit the young entrepreneur phase, running from ages 20 to 25. Now notice how these aren't just arbitrary age buckets pulled out of thin air. Going from a 12-year-old child to a 13-year-old teen isn't just celebrating another birthday, it is a massive psychological shift in independence. The framework recognizes that these distinct developmental leaps literally demand entirely different approaches if you want to set them up for success.
Let's look a little closer at how those solutions actually adapt during these younger years. For a child between 4 and 12, the framework recognizes that the focus absolutely must be on the environment they are raised in. Because of that, they offer Yancha Kids and Tweens interventions designed specifically for the parents, and you can find that over at yancha.in. But as that child grows into a teenager between 13 and 19, the dynamic completely shifts. I mean, if you're a parent, or even if you just remember being a teenager yourself, you know for a fact that the tactics used for a 10-year-old are going to totally flop with a 15-year-old. The shift from a parent-only intervention to a joint intervention, which is found at yanchateens.com, is a really crucial insight into human development. It fully recognizes that teenagers need their own direct guidance right alongside that parental support.
Moving on to Section 2, the entrepreneurial spark. For those in that incredibly dynamic 20 to 25-year-old bracket, the framework presents the Yancha Startup Program. This is tailored specifically to enable the young entrepreneur, basically acting as the ultimate launchpad phase. Now, interestingly, this program is still hosted on the Yancha Teens platform, and that is a brilliant bridge. It takes the relative safety and foundational support of youthful learning and uses it to bridge the gap into the very real, very high stakes of real-world business. It's really all about harnessing that raw early 20s energy and translating it into tangible startup success.
Actually, quick time out here. I really want to draw your attention to a super important caveat from the source material. It explicitly states, the age range mentioned is indicative. One can be an entrepreneur at any age. This is a completely crucial point. While this is a beautifully structured framework to help guide us, the entrepreneurial leap is inherently flexible. You do not age out of starting a business just because you blew out 26 candles on your birthday cake.
So if you're 35 and have a brilliant startup idea, don't worry, the framework hasn't left you in the dust. The 20 to 25 range is simply the focal point for this specific Yancha intervention.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 3, Mastering the Corporate Career on the METL Path.
All right, so we are now pivoting away from the Yancha Youth and Startup track and stepping firmly into the METL corporate career path. If you choose the corporate ladder, the METL framework maps out an incredibly ambitious sequential climb. Step 1 is for the early career professional, roughly ages 20 to 28, where the goal is to help you evolve into a manager. Once you've mastered that, Step 2 targets the mid-career phase, ages 28 to 40, to help you evolve into a general manager. And finally, Step 3 is for the leadership role holder between 40 and 55, aiming for the absolute pinnacle, to evolve into a CEO. But listen, moving from a manager to a general manager isn't just a fancy title change, it requires a complete mindset shift from managing tasks to managing the people who manage those tasks. And that final massive leap to CEO, that is entirely about visionary leadership. It's a clear, step-by-step roadmap for continuous psychological and professional upward mobility.
For the driven individual looking to access any of these specific career-accelerating tools, METL.in acts as the central hub. Just think of it as the scaffolding for your entire corporate climb. All 3 of these managerial and executive evolution programs are housed there centrally, basically supporting you from your very first management role right up to taking a seat in the C-suite. And finally, Section 4, Creating a Lasting Legacy.
So what happens when you finally reach the top? What happens after the corporate climb is complete and you step away from that day-to-day grind? Well, the framework recognizes that a truly driven individual doesn't just stop striving the second they retire. Entering the retired professional phase, which spans ages 55 to 65, the focus completely shifts. The corporate ladder is gone. Instead, it's replaced by a deeply rooted tree. This phase is no longer about climbing, it's about planting something that will provide shade long after you're gone. To support this totally unique phase, they offer the METL Creating a Legacy program, ensuring that even in the final culminating stages of a professional life, there is structured guidance for making a lasting, meaningful impact.
So as we zoom back out and look at this complete lifetime roadmap, I want to leave you with a provocative question to chew on today. Where do you currently fall on this timeline? Take a second to really honestly think about that. And more importantly, what is the exact next step in your evolution? Whether you're navigating those Yancha years of early entrepreneurship or you're currently scaling the METL peaks of corporate leadership, this explainer shows that there's a structured path forward out there designed specifically for you. Identify your current stage, seek out the targeted solutions, and whatever you do, keep driving your own growth. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today to unpack the Life Stage Solutions framework. Keep learning and keep growing.